And I love the definition of humility. Humility is having an accurate view of self. So it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking less about yourself. And I really started to just try and understand, what does that mean for me to go low? I thought I was humble, which is the first sign of you not being humble. And I just really started trying to embrace, what does it look like to have no ego? What does it look like to make things really about others more than ourselves? I think pride is this thing that we don't wrestle with once a day. We don't wrestle with it once a week. It's an hour by hour, minute by minute thing that you can vacillate into pride and humility. And I think just trying to be more honest with myself of going, what is my true hidden agenda? What is my life really about? Pride dumbs everything down and makes you choose ignorance. Humility has that teachable spirit.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to be a part of the community where you can listen to more content to help you be a smarter, stronger, and better equipped, successful leader. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button. I would love and appreciate your support. It's amazing to me to watch the community grow and read all of your comments each and every week. I can't wait to go on the journey with you. Thank you so much, and it means the world to me. Welcome to the Impact Driven Leader podcast with me, your host, Tyler Dickerhoof. Today, I'm joined by Chad Veach. Chad is the lead pastor at Zoe Church in Los Angeles. He is an international speaker, dynamic author. He's written several books. And the latest book, if you're looking, you're watching on YouTube, you can see it right behind you. I bet you think this book is about you. I'm reading it off the screen so I don't get tongue-tied there. Chad, I'm so excited to have you back. You're the podcast host of the Leadership Lean In podcast, one of my favorites. Love just the perspective that you give. Man, I'm excited to chat with you again and to learn about this latest book, but also, since we talked last couple years ago, what you've learned, what is new, what is different. Obviously, this book. So just kind of start there. Why did you write this book?
Yeah, well, Tyler, thank you for having me back. It's always great for Northwest people to connect.
There you go.
And congratulations to you on the Apple Cup victory. That needs to be noted and acknowledged and said.
For this part of the state, absolutely. They love it. Love it to rub into those Huskies. If you don't know what we're talking about, the Washington State Cougars played the UW Huskies over the weekend as we're recording this. And the Cougars won, which they don't have many years of being able to say that. So when they can hold that.
To use a Washington term, the Huskies on Saturday, well, we couged it.
Yes. I can't wait to send that to our friend Colin Henderson to get his reaction.
Shout out to Seahand. Let him know.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I wrote this book as I write, any project we work on, any book I'm writing is what I'm learning about, what I'm trying to dive into and understand myself. And I, through a series of events, came to the realization, wow, pride is destroying my life. Pride is much more prevalent in my leadership in life than I would like to admit. And so I went down a road of a greater self-discovery and a greater investment into what it looks like to work out ego and work out pride and embrace humility. So I'm writing out of my own pain and out of my own struggle out of this one.
So take us through that again for a little bit. We talk about leading the church in Los Angeles, being in LA. You're from the Pacific Northwest, but being in that world, walk myself and others through kind of how you started to recognize that, oh, I got an ego problem. My pride is overtaking me. Like, walk us through that.
Well, I tell the story in the book, but long story short, Pastor Louis Giglio in Atlanta, Georgia, Passion City. He's a hero. He's a friend of mine. And we had gone out to dinner, and after the dinner, we were kind of waiting for the cars to pull up in valet, and kind of gets close to my face, and he says, "Hey, for us, I really want me and you. I want you to go low." And he was so close to me, he could have said whatever, and I would have agreed with it because I was so uncomfortable. I just wanted him to kind of back up, and he kind of stared into my soul and said, I want you to go low and explain what that looked like. And I went, yeah, I agree 100%. When I flew home, I didn't think much of it. And then a few months later, I was back in Atlanta, and I said, hey, you want to get breakfast? So we have a great breakfast and after the breakfast. We're waiting for the cars to get pulled up there at the restaurant, and we're about to leave. And he goes, "Hey," he gets close to my face. "I really want you to go low." And I thought, at first when he said it again, I thought, this is age. He's getting old. He can't remember what he told me.
I mean, he's got white hair, but I mean, he's not that old.
Man, you gave me this speech, bro. And as I got on the plane to go home, I really felt like God started to deal with me and say, no, I had him say that again, because for where I'm taking you is going to require more humility. And I love the definition of humility. Humility is having an accurate view of self. So it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking less about yourself. Mm-hmm. And I really started to just try and understand, what does that mean for me to go low? I thought I was humble, which is the first sign of you not being humble. And I just really started to try and embrace, what does it look like to have no ego? What does it look like to make things really about others more than ourselves? And so that was a whole journey that I went on.
So in that journey, just give us some examples that, people listening in, leaders that maybe don't think so, or maybe they're kind of like, do I have like a humility ego problem? Like, give us some examples that you identified, either like your wife maybe told you about, or those around you other than Louis said, hey, Chad, hello, you got a problem here.
This is what I do love about marriage. It's so funny. Even now, my wife and I get into a fight or a little tiff. She'll go, "Oh, the guy that wrote the book on pride is being prideful. Wow, isn't that interesting?" So it's like, yeah, a man is ensnared by his own words. Yeah. But I think I started to really realize, motives and intentions are such a tricky, fickle thing. And only we know our true motives and intentions. And so I started to really try to be honest with myself. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it for the embetterment, for the improvement of others, for the service of others? Or is it for me? And I had to be honest with, I think pride is this thing that we don't wrestle with once a day. We don't wrestle with it once a week. It's an hour by hour, minute by minute thing that you can vacillate into pride and humility. And I think just trying to be more honest with myself of going, what is my true hidden agenda? What is my life really about? Am I about my name, or am I truly about his name, God's name, the one that I serve and the one I want to make much of? The truest, most honest version of myself wants to make much of Jesus. The most prideful, egotistic, narcissistic version of myself wants to make much of me. I want to be seen. I want to be recognized. I want to be known. And I think you got to be honest with yourself so you can really start to wrestle those things within yourself.
So, as a leader, as someone guiding so many others, as you're going through this discovery, as you're figuring out, the pride and Louis saying, go low, be more humble. How is it causing a issue in, again, going back to your wife, or in those work relationships that you started to understand, oh, that's my pride that's causing this?
Yeah, I started to realize I could be prideful about offense. I could be prideful about disagreements. I think part of pride can be attached to a lack of emotional maturity, not knowing how to handle situations, abandonment, betrayal, frustration, a lack of growth. And I think I started to, rather than have the right words with the wrong heart, I started to work on having the right heart and allowing my words to match that. I think there's always a gap between what we say and how we truly feel.
Sure.
Jesus talks about this. He says, they honor me with their lips, but their hearts are so far away. Judas Iscariot struggled with this. He's like, why is this money not being used for the poor? But the Bible talks about how clearly he didn't care about the poor. He had a bad heart. He had a bad agenda. So I think I'm just trying to close that gap and be more honest with myself about struggles, frustrations, desires, goals, and the why behind those things.
Yeah. As you bring that up, and there's a theory that I have that there's two two words in leadership. You reference them both in your book, humility and empathy. And I believe in our conversation today, those are the two misunderstood words. I don't think people really have an understanding of empathy. You talk about in your book, you gave an example of, definition of humility. And when people think about humility, they kind of wrestle with this as like, well, is it like just being this complete like doormat for people where I let people walk all over me? You said earlier, it's like having a proper assessment of yourself.
Right.
As I bring that up and as you've wrote this book and you talk about humility and you've discussed a lot of the definition, what have you seen that shows up in our world where people don't really understand humility?
Yeah, I think because you said it. When people think humble, they think, no, it's not me. I'm not that good. I'm. We think right away minimize. But I think humility is very confident because humility has an accurate view of self. Well, if I can see myself accurately, then I can see how talented and gifted and graced and favored I am and not apologize for it. But instead of weaponizing that for only my good and leveraging it to monetize it for my success, could I have an accurate view of myself so that I don't need to take from others? I can actually now give to others because I see myself as so blessed or secure or taken care of. Now I have something to add. I think a lot of leaders use people for their own agenda and their own ego, and they go fishing for compliments rather than giving compliments. They go fishing for honor or fishing for loyalty, and they're actually looking to take. Why? Because there's a hole in their heart. Yeah. When I'm humble, I can see myself as who I am. I've got charisma, I've got gifting, I've got creativity, I've got all these things working for me. Why are they working for me? It's actually not even for me alone. It's for something bigger than myself. And so I think we got to see ourselves in an accurate self view so that and I think when you see yourself accurately, you stop comparing yourself to others. You're like, I'm happy for them, but I love the way I'm made. I love the way God created me. Yeah. And this becomes a big deal to me in leadership and life.
Yeah. How do you see yourself accurately? Like, what's the process to see yourself accurately to really express humility?
Well, I think the first step is getting a true mirror. The true mirror, in my opinion, is the Bible. The Bible is my greatest mirror, not just my physical mirror, but my spiritual mirror. My life starts there, in my opinion. So when I can see what God says about me, who he says I am, then I walk in confidence in that. And that is my mirror. And I got to remember that because, James talks about if I don't apply the word, I'll look in the mirror and then leave and forget who I am and what I look like. Yeah. So I got to get that image down, carved into my head. This is who I am. And then also, I think that's why you need strengths finders, Enneagram, spiritual gift tests. You got to have a whole other part of your life that you see who you are. And then from there, you can start to go like, wow, I'm happy to be an Enneagram 1 or 7 or 3 or 5. I'm happy that I've got these spiritual gifts. I'm happy that I've got this personality. I wouldn't want to be a creative. God gave me an administrative brain or whatever. I think that's how you begin the process of self-discovery is you got to do some homework and some research. And it can't happen online or through likes and comments. You need a greater source.
Yeah. I think for me, as you bring that up, and it makes me think back to taking strength finders, going through that and starting to grasp and understand more of my strengths that I could see. Also doing a 360 review to understand how those around me saw me, because what I saw in the mirror was one thing, but what they saw through the window looking at me was totally different. And being able to align those is what really helped me kind of grow in my own security and understand, all right, how do I navigate through this pride, whether it's arrogance, whatever it may be, protecting myself because there's a part of me that I don't feel valued. And to me, that's where I center back in kind of the struggles that I think leaders have is a lot of this insecurity and what are their values. And they end up putting forward this armor of pride, like you're talking about, choose not to be humble because they're trying to protect themselves for what they don't understand.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, one of the things I love about humility is humility allows intimacy. And intimacy is into me see. And when I'm prideful, I self-image, self-image management. I've got to project and I got to protect and I've got to make sure everybody sees me a certain way. And it's paranoid. Because if people saw the real me, they wouldn't accept me and they wouldn't love me and they wouldn't think I'm so awesome. So I got to create a delta between them and me because I'm up here and they're down here and I want them to. It's exhausting. That's why social media exhausts people. It's because it's image management. When you're humble, you're really confident and secure of knowing I've got tons of strengths and I've got so many weaknesses and I am confident in both.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you, going back to, yourself as a leader and now writing this and learning it and internalizing what Louis shared with you, that great mentor taking a moment to, live out his own faith or believe in you enough to say it. How do you see that making an impact other than your wife holding against you? And kind of, I get that because my wife's the same is, she's like, how can you be this leadership guy and you're screwing it up? It's like, well, because of that. But how are you seeing that play out in those relationships around you?
Well, I think so much of life is just recognizing the stuff, the junk, the issues, the toxicity within yourself, going that's bad. That's not right. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't think that. That's not a good thought. Don't be that guy. Hey, you got to kind of regulate yourself, check yourself. So I think going down this path has allowed me to kind of just recognize that's immature. That's not going to do you well. Come on. You don't want to be that guy. And just kind of calling a spade a spade. That's pride. That's ego. Yeah. That's not going to, no. Go low. So I think, we have these voices in our head. We have these, quotes and sound bites and truths that are swirling in real time when we're making decisions. And so I think that we've got to stop just hearing and start applying. And so now I'm able to, in real time, just kind of call out I'm going to go down this path of humility and I'm going to go low and I'm going to be humble because I know the problem with pride is it promises everything humility can only deliver. So pride promises me what I really want, but I've learned humility delivers all that stuff. So if I'll do the hard work and I'll go low and take the high road, I'll get what I want in life, which is what? Self-confidence, respect of others, trust, a good name, all the stuff that pride tells you it'll give you. It can give you none of it.
Yeah.
But humility can.
Yeah. So again, how in your leading, how has that shown up? How has that change and shift shown up?
I think it's shown up in a more empowering way, in a more trusting way. I think when you're prideful, you want to play hero ball. I think when you're prideful, you want everybody to kind of no head higher than mine. You want more glory or recognition that's actually due to you. I think pride just makes you the main character, the centerpiece, the focal point of everything that's going on. Humility has shown up for me of going let's make them the hero. Instead of walking in the room and saying, here I am, let's walk in the room and go, there you are. Yeah. It's just helped me to make leadership in life more about others than it was before.
Yeah. And I would imagine, people on your staff are like, wow, Chad, this is different.
I mean, I can't tell. I haven't gotten crazy feedback wow, this is night and day. I just know inside.
Yeah. It's where it starts, right?
Inside. It's night and day. It feels to me lighter.
So
It feels,
like, talk about that. Why, like that weight taken off.
yeah, I just think,
Describe that.
yeah, I think that there's a pressure to perform. There's a pressure to be successful. There's a pressure to be something that trying to live up to everybody else's standards and
Mm.
expectations of you is a very hard task. Ask Ryan Leaf, Wazoo reference.
Yeah, of
That's just
course. Yeah.
it's just not easy. And
Yeah.
maybe the expectations you put on yourself. How easy is it to brag about other people? How easy is it to make other people the big deal?
Yeah.
How easy is it to sing other people's praises? Like, I just think it's so crazy. Leadership is a thing. Everybody wants loyalty. Are you given loyalty?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be honored. How much honor
Yeah.
do you get? It's such a wild, guys want to reap what they've never sown. Humility allows you to sow the right seeds.
Man, as you share that, I think about instances where people I know, you've probably seen this, right? In the church world, in the business, it's like any other business. If you have people leave and go somewhere else, you're like, oh, you're dead to me, right? And people do that in business. Clients, hey, you were my client, and you go across the street, you're someone else's client. Man, you're dead to me. I'm never I won't talk to you anymore. I'll block you on social media. I've seen that. You've probably heard of people in your world that have done that too. And to me, what that just shows of is just pride, is
Right.
just total pride in that unwillingness to say, well, maybe what they have across the street is what they need. And that opens up the door for somebody else that only I can serve can be here.
That's it. Yeah. And I think, pride isn't it so easy to spot in others? It's
Oh,
like
yeah. Yeah.
one of my favorite quotes in the books. Pride is the only disease that makes everybody else sick besides the person that has it. It's just gross to watch. It's just like, oh, that guy did that. I can't them, and they're just and then it's like you kind of just pride. You're kind of sitting there with yourself, going like, you can do that. You're that petty. You're that small. You could be that unforgiving. And I think we just, again, part of humility to me is walking in honesty, that vulnerability, that transparency just deflates pride from dominating. It takes all of its venom, all of its power, and just goes, you're not going to have a stronghold here, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm saying it out loud. I'm an idiot. I'm petty. I can be small, but I'm not going to. All right, great. That required a lot of humility for you to admit that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe as you're living that out, as you're talking about that and you're internalizing it, man, I only know from personal experience when you start to raise your hand and say, hey, I don't have this figured out. Like, I'm wrong. I was wrong. And when you live that, it's amazing how people respond to it. And all of a sudden, this idea that, okay, I got to puff myself up, I got to keep up the appearance, it happens in so many leadership spaces because people think that's what the role takes in order to be this bigger than life leader. What you end up doing is you end up driving people away.
Crazy.
And then you're stuck alone.
Oh. I mean, and the lie is put up the wall, act like you're okay, don't show weakness, never say sorry. And humility's over here going,
Yeah.
so you just got to ask yourself, which voice are you going to listen to? The one that leads to destruction, or the one that leads to blessing, favor, honor, close relationships, favor, all the stuff you want is found on this side. All the stuff that will destroy you is on that side.
You mentioned, obviously the connection with Louis and spending time with him. There's a part of me that happens to think of myself and own experiences here that, a big part of being able to tune in and understand and appreciate how humility shows up is the people you start surrounding yourself with and saying that, all right, if I start putting myself in the right rooms, it's just going to be a humble room where it becomes, we encourage each other. We've talked about a few mutual friends here, and I could add a few more that are in that same circle. And what do I know about those people, what they do for me? They are as much appreciative of me as I am of them, and that humility, and not like, oh, well, thanks for coming and showing up to my party. It's like, man, I'm glad I'm at your party. And so talk about that impact of recognizing what was going on and saying, all right, I need to start surrounding myself with different people. Or even if I am in that place, I got to prepare myself before I go in there so I have my heart and mind right.
Yeah, which also requires a ton of humility to acknowledge and even just air out, going like, I'm not strong enough in that environment, and if I walk in there, I could be influenced rather than be the influence. That requires a lot of humility. But I think let's just be honest. The reason why you need to be around other like-minded people is because you are who you hang out with. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Bad company corrupts good character. So you can start off good and have the best of intentions, but you get around some knuckleheads and you're going to become a knucklehead. And so I just think you got to be very careful. Pride says, I'm fine. I can handle this. I can go wherever I want. What? You're not that strong. I don't trust me. Why would you trust me? No, you need to get around the right people and this is what I love about community, which it requires great humility to be in community. Pride will not be in community. Pride isolates itself. It rages against all wisdom because it doesn't want to be called out. It doesn't want to be accountable. It doesn't want to be rebuked or corrected. Humility says, I need community because I don't trust myself, and I need people to sharpen me. I need people to challenge me. I need people that will help me. I need people that will love me even when I don't love myself. That's the contrast right there. So you being in a proximity of temptation or whatever, I hope that you have the humility to go, I'm going into the lion's den. I'll never forget couple of years ago, a guy extremely famous, biggest of the big, goes, I'm going on to a TV show, one of the top TV show hosts tonight, and I'm going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and I really need your prayer tonight because I'm going to the lion's den, and I know how the host is going to handle it. And sure enough, they went on air, and the host asked him, and my friend, the guest, replied and was strong in his faith. And long story short, ended up getting killed. But he counted the cost, and he knew what he was doing. And in humility, he asked for covering because he was very well prepared, because he humbly said, I'm going to use this opportunity not to weaponize it for my name, but I'm going to take a risk with my career and my bank account, and I'm going to use it for the glory of God. That to me is the power of humility.
Well, I think the great thing that you mentioned there is it can't be done alone, right? It's seeking those to be around you, to go with you, to link arms, right? To link arms. And it goes very much what you said about pride and community and humility and community. Humility says, hey, I can't do it alone. I'm not everything. Right. But it's with others that I'm complete, because that's how I was made, to complete others in that collaboration, instead of, oh, I'm here to compete against Chad. I'm here to compete against someone else. Really, humility doesn't have a place in outward competition. It's inward. And it's how can I be better today than I was yesterday? There's a place of, having, I describe pride as salt. You have to have a little bit, or it's just bland. But if you have too much, dude, you kill everything. And I think there's a piece of that where there's enough to have that internal to say, hey, I care enough that I'm going to internalize it. But man, if it spills over on anyone else, dude, then it's too much. Then you spit it out of your mouth because it's just like nasty.
Right. 100%. And I think humility allows you to not become too much, too low, humble.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest, weird.
Yeah.
It allows you to just be confident, be strong. The most humble people I know, they are life-giving. They add value. They make you feel stronger. You don't even think that they're making it about humility.
Yeah.
Because they're actually making it about you.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's, pride walks into a room. It's like, hey, look, here I am. Here I am. Humility walks in the room. It's like, there you are. And it's, sometimes in that case, you don't even know they walked in the room. You can tell the room is better, but you don't even know they walked in the room. And being able to understand that, when you walk in the room, you can have a presence about you, but you try to overtake the room, or do you try to uplift the room? And to me, that's when you learn how to display humility. Oftentimes for me, I describe it as empathy. It's the ability to put your arms around someone and walk with them and go with them. And I think that's humility being lived out. It's being empathetic. And I think as we talk about all of these pieces and this idea of pride and humility, one thing that you mentioned in your book that I want to take some time to kind of, go with a little bit is how much is humility in being grounded? It's not getting too high, not getting too low, like you talked about, but having your feet on the ground. Our friend Colin often will take pictures of be where your feet are, right? And that idea of just be present. How much does humility have all about being present?
Yeah, because I think one of the strengths of humility is gratitude or appreciation. And when I'm grateful for where I am, when I'm grateful for what I have, when I carry that attitude, I'm not looking past the person I'm talking to, and I'm not looking past the season that I'm in. I'm really grateful. I can't believe how good God's been. I can't believe how far we've come. I can't believe, wow, it's pretty unbelievable. And I can be present. Pride is so thirsty, so hungry, so it's insatiable. It's like, I gotta have more money and more fame and more stuff. And it's just like attack mode. And it struggles to be in the present reality. So humility allows me, I think, to have great gratitude. And I think what's so powerful about gratitude is gratitude or thankfulness is a magnet for miracles. The way I attract more miracles in my life is I humbly thank and praise God for all that I have already. And when I have that attitude, I think it attracts more good things rather than going like, I don't have enough, should have what they have, could be doing so much more, should be where they're at. Look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
That is a repellent to the grace of God.
Yeah. We have some figures in our society that embrace that. As you're saying that, and I think about like Gary Vee. Gary Vee is an enigmatic just figure in front of everyone, and the amount of humility that he embraces, in his lifestyle as he talks to people. It's to me, it's almost you don't expect it, and that's what makes it so much more powerful, right? You think about a Paul, conversion from Saul, and as he was figuring that out, I was like, dude, that's crazy, right? It's almost to me like that, and yet we have a lot of other figures that parade themselves around to be examples and to be that, hey, this is the way to go about life and business, and yet as you watch them, and their words just reek of pride and reek of that insecurity of they got to go get mine, right? It's not about, hey, how can I help you get yours? Like, dude, go get yours. Like, I'm fine, go get yours. It's more of like, well, I'll get mine, and if you follow the same, then you can get yours. How do you wrestle with that as someone who's trying to lead people that look at you?
Yeah, I think I just try to do the best thing we can do, I think, is continue to live our genuine, authentic life. I think people need a role model. People need an example. People need, one of the things I love about Paul. Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. That's humility.
Yeah.
He's not saying I'm all that. I got it figured out. He's actually saying I'm following somebody else. I am also a follower, but I'm going to do my best to set an example, to be the bar, and I'm going to try and live my life to be followable. So follow me as I follow Christ. I think that right there shows to me what leadership and humility looks like. I'm bold enough and strong enough to invite you into following my life.
Yeah.
And I want to make no apologies. I'm following Christ. And so he's the ultimate standard. I'm like a standard below. I'm not perfect, but I'm also inviting you into a life that's I want to say replicable. Is that a word? Replicable.
Replicable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
You can replicate this life.
Yeah.
The way I'm living, the attitude I'm choosing, the mindset I have. You can follow that. To me, that is one of the facets of humility.
As we wrap up here, and I want to talk a little bit about the humility cycle. So you have in the back of your book this cycle of kind of a process, right? And so I'd love for you to kind of just lead people through it as they've listened in, as they're thinking about, all right, how is pride and humility, how am I prideful in life? Where can I have my humility really kind of show up? Walk people through kind of the cycle that you created, just kind of a word map per se of how to evolve and really kind of live out humility.
You know what's so funny is right now my mind is blinking on the cycle. I can see
That's right.
it.
I got you. That's what I'm here for. I'll walk you through it. It's all good.
Walk me through this cycle.
Know you. Like, dude, I get it. I get it. So the first one is courage.
So what's courage do in our life? What's courage?
This is good, Chad. Like your turn on me. To me, that is, the courage to stand up and say, hey, I recognize, man, my pride is showing. Man, I didn't handle that stuff.
I gotta admit stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta be courageous.
Yeah. And own it.
The thing about courage is like, it's the opposite of deceit. Yeah. It's the opposite of being, one of my favorite words, deviant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think I have a friend that throws an annual men's retreat.
Okay.
They go up to Lake Tahoe and they bring about 80 to 100 guys. And they started this because his best friend committed suicide and he never knew he was struggling.
Mm.
And he said, I'm never going to be in a position where guys that are in my life can't be honest. I'm never going to be in a place where I don't create an avenue where they can talk about what's going on in their life. So the first one is you got to start. And it just takes, you think about the live pride. Pride's like, don't tell them, don't show them, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. They won't get it. They won't understand. Just, please, just, you got to chill. Like,
yeah.
So it starts with courage. Where does it go next?
Openness.
Oh.
Kind of goes right in hand with that, right? Part of being courageous is being open.
Part of being courageous is being open. It's that first of, all right, I'm going to be courageous enough to be. Dr. Henry Cloud was telling me the story. He said, I was asking him, Dr. Henry Cloud, book Boundaries, just the legend of all legends. I said, why do you think most leaders are messed up? Why do we get around so many leaders and they got so many issues? He said, well, I think the real issue is most leaders have never cried in front of a small group.
Mm.
And I thought, there it is. We struggle to be open, to be courageous enough, to be open enough to go, I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together. I need your advice. I need counsel. I need you to speak into this. I need you to pray for me. I gotta live as an open book. And by the way, if you don't have people you can be open with right now, let's make that one of our first priorities, to find your crew, find your people, find your tribe, find your community that you can be with. You might not be able to let your hair down with everybody, but you need to be able to let your hair down with somebody. Yes. You need to be able to be open. So courage, openness.
Yes. Awareness.
Awareness, self-awareness. Just being aware.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that is, once you have courage and that openness and you can say, okay, then I have to own it. I can't just say, okay, there, I'm out. No, it's like, no, I still got to own I'm wrestling with that. Coming back to what you said, the very openness, like this isn't a year by year. This isn't a month by month. It's a minute, second by second, everything that is of me, I am constantly working through where am I at in my pride? Where am I at with my humility? How do I have that imbalance?
And,
To me, that's awareness.
I think with awareness, the problem with pride is that the king has no clothes. And so we use this illustration of the king has no clothes, where when you're prideful, you can have no clothes and you don't want to be aware.
Yeah.
It just looks away. Like, I don't want to see the balance sheet. I don't want to see the numbers. I don't want to see, like, I don't want to be in tune or in the know of anything that's going on, because ignorance is bliss. Yeah. And I think you've got to develop that awareness of self-awareness, God awareness, and others awareness.
Okay. Understanding. The next one is understanding. What does that mean to you?
To me, it's understanding what's going on. I think also one of the big things about understanding is understanding the gravity, the weight of the decision, the weight of the future. I think sometimes pride lies to us and says, like, oh, you can get away with this. This is fine. It's not that big of a deal. I've got to understand myself. I've got to understand the situation. I've got to understand what's at stake here. I think so often you see leaders self-sabotage. You see people make decisions that are going to hurt themselves, and it's like you don't even understand what that's going to do to your children, what that's going to do to your employees, what that's going to do to your community or your marriage. We've got to develop an understanding, and understanding not only where we're at, but go get counsel, get wisdom. There's wisdom in the get understanding. To me, that's a big part of it. It's just, I think pride dumbs everything down and makes you choose ignorance. Humility has that teachable spirit. I was doing a podcast yesterday on faithful, available, teachable. Be faithful in life, be available. The greatest ability is availability, and be teachable. You cannot get understanding without a teachable spirit.
Good. Change.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could just change ourselves? I'll bet we both have a laundry list of things I'd like to change about ourselves.
I have a handful. I'd imagine I can go to my wife and find out even more if we run out of things to talk about. It's all right. Go to my kids,
Yeah, exactly. He's like, Dad, I want to change this, and I want you to change that. And
while we're at it,
the family and I, we got together. We talked about the 3 things we want to change about you. Yeah, it's like change would be so nice if it was just a light switch, and I could just change. It's like this guy called me yesterday morning, early in the morning. His girl just left him, and he's going through a hard time. He's got an anger problem, and he's got an anger problem because he's beat when he's a kid. His dad used to beat him. He never acknowledged that until just this year. He's 45, and so he's starting to get therapy about that. And he goes, He says this yesterday, I don't want to deal with anger anymore. I said, well, you're going to deal with anger the rest of your life. That's the bottom line. It's an emotion. Mm-hmm. You need to develop tools on how to deal with anger. You need some practices, some things that will help you handle, because you're going to feel that way again. I mean, hello, Inside Out 2 just came out. Yeah. Anger wants to take control, but you got to. And I always think, like, the reason why it's coupled next to understanding is because the more understanding, that knowledge is power, that allows me to put in the quotes, truths, books, principles, values I just learned, so that I can apply change. This is the problem with spirituality. People will just want to come to a church service, slap on a prayer, and just go like, I'm changed. Well, call me in 6 months and let's talk. Because we've got habits, and we form them. We got to develop new habits. And these new habits, that a humble spirit will allow us to be open, allow us to understand, allow us to change.
And then the last is rewards.
That's to me, this is the best part. And what we really try to do in this book is contrast, because I'm in love with the law of opposite.
Okay.
So it's like, let's look at honor and the rewards of humility, and look at what it presents, and look at what it will give you, and just this beautiful bouquet of what honor will get you. And then let's contrast it with the decimation that pride will give you. Because before destruction comes, pride comes. And so I like this because the book really is about the pitfalls of pride. By the way, pride never walks into your life or in your house and goes, "It's me, pride, here, just want to destroy you."
Yeah.
Pride shows up like an apple that's shiny and goes, "You can have this, it won't hurt."
Mm-hmm.
Did he really say you can't have? Come on. Pride is
It'll
so
be all right. Just one bite.
It'll be all right. Did he really? He doesn't. What kind of a good God would hide a good apple from somebody as good as you? There's no way. So the pitfalls of pride in contrast to the rewards of humility. Everybody wants honor. Doesn't come without humility. Everybody wants favor. Doesn't come without humility. Everybody wants legacy. Can't build a legacy without humility. Everybody wants impact. No impact without humility. So to me, the incentive, the motive, I wanted to motivate people to walk down this path because the rewards are crazy. Like we look at the rewards of a Citibank or the rewards of some credit card or Amex or the rewards. We Americans love rewards. That's why we're all members at Costco. We love rewards.
Yeah, totally.
What humility will reward you with is crazy.
But it takes change and understanding and awareness and openness and courage to find those rewards.
It's a process.
Yes.
And guess what? You got to get up probably tomorrow and go down this path again.
Yeah.
And just because you know.
Well, it's when we walk out of here, we're going to have to go through
it. 100%. And Paul's like, by the way, the things that I want to do, I just rarely do those things. The things I don't want to do, those are the things I find myself doing.
Yeah. They're easy.
Like, why? So I got to continue this path. And it's lifelong. I'd love to write the book, be like, man, I conquered this one, but I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna wrestle with it.
Yeah. Where can people learn more about the book? Where can they get the book? Learn more about you, all those things.
Yeah, the book is on, anywhere books are sold, Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the stuff. And I have a website, myname.org, chadveach.org. But yeah, pretty much anywhere. And really excited about this project coming out October the 15th.
Awesome. Love it. It's my anniversary.
Oh, how many years?
This will be 19. 19
I'm
this year.
Celebrating 16 this Saturday.
Get it. Congratulations.
Let's go. October 15th. Yeah. That's a strong day. What city did you get married in?
Bakersfield, California.
Very hot.
It was gorgeous. October it was like
gotta be gorgeous there,
65. It was actually kind of rainy. It was gorgeous. Beautiful day. Beautiful. It had rained earlier. It was totally sunny, cool. You weren't sweating like crazy at all. It was great. Yeah.
I love it. Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you for everyone that is watching on YouTube. Make sure to hit that subscribe button with the bell so you get notified whenever podcasts release as well, wherever you listen, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Make sure you rate and review each episode so that way people can find more impactful leaders like Chad. Until next time, choose to lead with impact.